Welcome to Dom Sketchcast. I am Dom. Today we have a very special, fantastic experience for you. I interviewed Myke Seatown. In this video, we talk about politics, whether or not violence can solve racist ideologies. Myke and I have some different viewpoints on it. We talk about these points, about what's going on in the hellish political landscape of the United States of America right now. We talk about art school aspirations and inspirations. I forgot that Myke went to art school, so we talk about that a little bit, and we talk about our top 5 scary movies and more. A bunch of great stuff. This is a fantastic conversation and excited to share it with you. Before we get into it, got a couple plugs for you. domrabron.com/shop is the place where you can buy my art. It's a great place to support me. You can get a shirt, a beautiful blue Cerberus shirt like what I'm wearing right now, just a lot less wrinkled. You can get prints, like this beautiful K-Dot print I have right here. It can be on your wall, and it's going to ward away all of your internal and external demons, I promise. We also have a bunch of new other items coming up on there. Patreon.com/DomRabron is a great way to support me and my aspirations with my production team and Blue Cerberus, my creative studio that I'm building out. Patrons get to watch many of DSC videos a day before. They also get access to secret behind-the-scenes blogs, wallpapers, trinkets. They get access to the secret Discord chat. There's also a secret patron question that we answer, Myke and I, that's going to go up exclusively on the Patreon that you can only see on there. So sign up today. Thank you all for being here. And I just want to direct your attention to this K-Dot print once more. Just look at these, look at the little red spot. It's kind of interesting, right? Let's get a closer look. Last time I saw you, we were in Atlanta. It was pre-COVID. It was a beautiful couple of days. We were drinking a bunch. We saw Beach House together. You took me through Conyers, where the white people are in Georgia.
I took you to Buckhead. That's where we
Buckhead.
went out and drank and saw the no niggers allowed sign.
Yeah. You can't have a chain.
Right. No backwards hats. No big baggy pants.
No baggy pants. No R&B. And of course, there was when we left the Beach House show, there was the black dude in the country crowd, and he was just like, "Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm one of them. They've accepted me. Yeah, dude, Trump."
It's like they're gonna hang you in 10 minutes.
They'll treat you like fucking Herman Cain, dog.
Yeah, exactly.
Leave your ass out to dry. God damn. So I am gonna ask the question everyone asks everyone now, just in general. How is the emotional temperature, the philosophical feeling of Atlanta right now, from your perspective?
Man, Atlanta feels weird. Atlanta's tense on one hand, and then it's extremely like free on another hand. Like, I feel like black folks are very tense right now in Atlanta. You know, white people on the other hand are very free because they just feel so happy to be defying the rules. You know, like they're out with no masks, they're partying, they're having a good old fucking time. And I don't know, Atlanta has just never, to me, I've been here for almost 30 years. No, 30 years I've been in Atlanta. And it's never felt this weird before. Same up there or no?
Up here in the DC area, it's definitely weird, but I guess it's like there's like this overall pandemic weird that I think everyone is experiencing. But here, I feel like after George Floyd, I felt like white people, especially older white people, were like super duper extra nice, kind of like that veneer of nice where it's like they're aggressively waving at you in the street. It felt very Get Out, by the way. It was like, hello, hi, like, and wanting you to wave back. Like, I felt that. It was, I could detect that was a little bit off. Like the amount of acknowledgement from them and wanting to be like, I acknowledge your presence, like that kind of shit got weird. There was definitely a lot of tension. I didn't go to the major protests. I went to BLM Plaza and did a video on that. But that was, it was protest adjacent. There were a lot of fucking people. That was the first time I'd left my house. And I think that was like March. Maybe it was April. I forget when that video came out. But that was like the first time I left my house in a long ass while. I think it still feels tense. And the general feeling I have is like, the general feeling I sense is sort of like, are things going to change here? I mean, like, because, like I always say, I'm in the epicenter of the weirdness. I mean, DC is like, Trump lives 8 miles from me. You know, it's, I think everyone is concerned about what's going to happen in November. I don't know. Whatever happens, people are going to be in the streets. I don't know if I'm going to be one of them. I don't know if I'll be one of them because I'm just terrified. Especially if the worst happens. Like I fear that if Trump loses, he's just not gonna leave.
Yeah, we've had conversations about that on our podcast too. Yeah, and it's a valid concern. I don't know that it's actually gonna happen if he loses. I think he'll be forced to leave.
Yeah,
like he can't just say, "Well, I'm not leaving the White House." Like the military is gonna have to turn on him and say, "Okay, well, you have to go."
Yeah.
You know, I'm not super concerned about that because I'm already 99.9% certain that Trump is gonna win, so it doesn't really matter that much to me
Win?
anymore.
Whoa.
Yeah.
If you ask me right fucking now, I'll say 60% in Biden's favor.
Really?
Yeah, but
I hope you're right.
I hope so too, but there are some days where I'm just like, I don't know.
This dude's just he's too sinister and he's too calculated, and I feel like people are getting comfortable the way they got comfortable in 2016. They're just like, oh, there's no way people are gonna, and then he sneaks up and it's like, oh, people really are this stupid. Oops. You know, I have zero faith in humanity anymore, Dom. So,
I mean, you're in one of those. I mean, is Georgia a swing state?
No. Georgia is always a red state. Always.
There's so many black people there, though.
Yeah, but there's so many white people too. You know, I have seen, because I was talking to Mark, Spectrum Pulse Mark,
right,
about this on Twitter. I've noticed that a lot of the places that I used to drive by and see Trump signs are now I'm seeing Biden signs. So I don't know if that's a legitimate turn of the tide or if that's more so like we just don't want to be on this. We don't want to be in this place where people drive by and see a Trump sign and throw a brick through our window. I don't know what it is, but it's definitely a lot more Biden signs than I used to see. So that could mean that poor white people are finally waking up and being like, yeah, we've been duped and we've been fucked over for the longest time. And we've been tricked by this asshole, and now we're realizing it. I don't know, but I guess we'll have to just wait and see.
My fear, and we're going to get into cinematic horror, but there's a lot of real life horror right now.
Yeah.
My fear is that what's happening is, it's like at the end of the Thriller, when imagine Michael Jackson is walking with the girl and he has like it's the Biden sign, right? So everything is cozy and comfortable, and he turns around, Trump baby, Trump baby. And it's like that laugh, that sinister laugh. It's like that sign flips. Like if you look on the other end of that Biden, it's like psych.
Yeah,
I'm really voting for Trump, motherfucker. That's what it feels like. I don't know who to trust sometimes. I feel like it's I feel like there are a lot of spooky fakers out there. People who
I agree.
My thing is like, please just let us know who you are. Like I know people are ashamed. They're like, we're ashamed. We're scared to admit that we love our president. Nah, man, just stand by your guy, dude.
Mm-hmm.
What's the problem? You really believe in somebody, just go ahead and fucking say it. There are consequences. I'm not saying anyone's gonna be beating your ass or anything, but like, we just know who you are.
Hey, man. At this point in my life, I'm so much like, whatever happens, happens. If you run around, right, girl? Yeah. If you run around and you're hollering about Trump and someone pops you in the mouth, hey, man. I mean, it sucks. I'm not going to cry for you.
I don't advocate violence.
I don't either, but I think that empowers.
I think it empowers them. To be stricken physically, I think it makes them feel more strongly about their beliefs.
Here's the thing. I would agree with that, except for the fact that I don't think history has shown this. I don't think history has shown that when you pop somebody in the fucking mouth, that just makes them stop saying the fucked up shit that they say. And I'm not talking about someone just saying, oh yeah, I'm voting for Trump, and someone hits them. That's stupid. I mean, hitting somebody is stupid in general. Yeah. But if you walk out of the house with a MAGA hat on or a MAGA shirt on, and you're walking into an area and you start spouting off about Trump 2020 and building the wall, even though that's kind of a played out narrative at this point. But if you start throwing out any of Trump's talking points at certain people and someone knocks you out, don't look to me for sympathy. You knew what you were doing. You knew what you were asking for. Basically, I don't advocate violence either, but I also don't necessarily condemn it always. I know for a fact that in Atlanta, had people not been violent, it would still be overrun with Nazi skins at punk shows. That's how we got rid of them. Because a lot of these people, I'll tell you, the only people that actually think that you can sit down and have a conversation with a racist and change their mind are people that have never actually met a fucking real racist. I'm not talking about some fucking dude in a suit that's just like, I don't really hire black people. It's not like a race thing. It's just not talking about one of them. Yeah. I'm talking about a good old fucking Southern racist. I hate niggers. Fuck Jews.
I own slaves type shit.
Yes. I'm cool with slave. You cannot have conversations with these guys, especially if these are fucking straight out neo-Nazis in 2020. You're not sitting down with a fucking latte and saying, hey, dude, let's discuss your views, man. Like, how can we bring you over to this side? That doesn't happen. I'm all for knocking out fucking people like Richard Spencer. I'm all for it. I'm all for if someone shows up with a swastika or a MAGA hat at a BLM rally and starts screaming. Cool. If you guys want to knock him out, have at it. I just don't care anymore. I get what you're saying, though.
Yeah, I'm such a pacifist, and I know that like my role in this society is like I'm never gonna be the one to throw the punch. I know that there are people whose job and function that they can do that. I just know that that's never been me. Like and that's probably like my super Christian upbringing and a bunch of other shit, but I feel you in terms of like I just want the most effective route to sort of get rid of these thoughts, and I wish it wasn't violent, but I don't know. It's like my perspective is, I mean, like I have an artist perspective on things. You know what I mean? Like violence is just one of those things that's I just so deeply wish that it didn't have to come to that, and then we could sort of like convince, but like look where we are now. I mean, this is like the Michelle Obama thing where she has tried and has continued to try to convince us that going high is the way to go. But I can't tell you the amount of times I've been sitting looking at Trump and being like, his tactics aren't that way, and I often feel like we're fighting a vampire using wooden bullets or whatever. That's a bad example. Fighting a werewolf using something that isn't silver. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like if you know you're gonna fight this sort of, I mean, you don't walk in there with a like I'm the guy with like I think we can turn him away with the Bible and the cross. Back you heathen. Yeah. But I know sometimes it's gonna come down to tactics that I just don't. Yeah.
I'm with you, man. Look, I don't hit people either. Like I said, I haven't hit anybody since I was 20. And if I'm out, like I was just out with my girlfriend and we saw two dudes getting in a fight, and it was nauseating. But so I'm not advocating for everyone to just run out in the street and punch somebody with a MAGA hat on.
Yeah.
But I'm saying people need to understand who their enemy is and understand that these tactics that Democrats have been using, these tactics that black people have been using, they haven't worked. They haven't worked. If anything, if you really think about it, Dom, if you really think about it, they've only gotten more violent. They've only gotten more violent. We haven't. They're killing us more. They're beating us up more. Like, people like to try to think that, oh, well, at least we're not getting lynched anymore. Are you sure? Are you sure we're not? Because it looks like we are when I turn the TV on. So it's like, at what point do we say, all right, well, this is enough? Like, people cry when those two cops, you know, that guy walked up and shot him through the window. People were just devastated. And it sucked. That's a terrible thing that happened. But at the same time, I'm sitting back and I'm like, what the fuck did you expect? You've been killing us for decades. And now you want to have a nationwide service because some motherfucker got fed up and fought back? We're going to have Chris Dorners all over again. There's going to be more of this. Like I said, I don't encourage it.
Right.
At the same time, I don't necessarily condemn it because I understand it. I'm like, if somebody keeps spitting in your face, Dom, at some point you're going to punch him in the mouth. You can say, stop spitting on me. Stop. Just quit it. Cause that's how I am. I'd rather talk, but dude, cut it out. Like, calm down. Why are you doing this? But at some point, I'm going to bust you in the head with a bottle.
Like I said, this is real life horror we're experiencing. Yeah. This stuff is. I recently read the autobiography of Malcolm X, which Beezy was trying to tell me to read for the longest time, and I finally did it. And it baffled me how much of his rhetoric and thinking is similar to today in terms of just on a basic level wanting basic human decency, wanting to be treated like a human, wanting to feel safe when you're outside, wanting to feel safe at home as a black person seems to be like too much these days. It seems to be like, especially when, I mean, this is supposed to be the place, right? This is supposed to be the place where everyone can come and have their dreams and everything. And when we're trying to have these conversations about, hey, can we talk about like this police brutality and it becomes like this. It becomes something so much like they make it about everything else that isn't what we're talking about.
Right.
And that in itself is nauseating, anxiety inducing. And I just keep imploring people to vote. I'm going to put my goddamn ballot in probably later this week, but I got to do some research on the local elections too, which is something that is, that's been a major thing for me as I'm getting older. I'm like, holy shit, like president, that's major. People at the top, super major. But this local shit, like no matter where you are in the world, I don't know how everyone's government system is who's listening or watching this, but like knowing on a basic level who the person is, who's the judge. You know what I mean? Like if you got in trouble today, if your neighbor got caught on some kind of charge today, who's the judge? Like what do they look like? Do they represent the community? Who's the person who's managing the money? Who's your council, the senator, all that stuff? But I'm really starting to think about that shit because it's like this is like within a 5-mile radius of you. Like who's the person in charge, right? That stuff affects you day to day.
Absolutely. I'm the same way. I got my absentee ballot 2 days ago, and I'm gonna start filling it out today. But I gotta do the same thing you're doing. You know, like my sister sent out this link that was like, here's a list of all of the black people that are running for offices. And I was like, okay, that's tight, but what do they stand for? What's their background? I'm not going to just vote for a motherfucker because he's black. I did that with Obama, which, I mean, it worked out okay.
Yeah.
But it still cost a lot of innocent children their lives because, you know, he loved him a bombing, that Obama guy. Yeah, it's funny. You were talking about Michelle Obama, if they go high, or no, they go low, we go high. But did you tell your husband that shit when he was bombing innocent children? I don't think you did. You know, what did those little kids do? Did they go low?
Damn, dude.
You know. Anyways, sorry. Soapbox over. But yes, I am with you. I don't like violence either, Dom. I hate it. I think it sucks. But I also understand that at some points it has a place. It has a place in history. And it has a place when it comes to actually changing things. And,
it's so fucking unfortunate.
It is. It's very unfortunate.
For anything to change.
It's it's very unfortunate.
Maybe that's a blanket statement, but like for major changes you look at in the past, people are usually getting their ass beat or dying, and it's the worst. It's the worst thing. I mean, like even now, the pandemic. It's like I'm shocked that I knew that we were going to normalize on some level, but the way we're normalizing the massive amounts of deaths, it's like, it's wild.
Americans are so used to death, and we're so used to putting death off as somebody else. Like when you go to another place where you can walk outside and there are literally people just getting shot right in front of your house. They don't normalize death. Like those deaths affect them because they have to personalize them, because they're like, that could easily be me in 2 seconds. But so many Americans, even though we look at things like George Floyd and, you know, these things, we're like, oh, well, that could be me, and Rashard Brooks, that could be me. But at the end of the day, like, I definitely think that we, as Americans, we impersonalize death a lot. So yeah, when we hear a number like 200,000 dead from COVID, yeah, we're affected, but we're only affected until the next TV show comes on, or the next time Kanye drops an album, or the next time fucking Jay-Z says something cool. Like, then we're on to something else. Other places don't have that luxury. It's death, and then death. And then maybe a little bit of happiness, and then some sort of pain. Americans, on average, I'm not saying that there aren't people that live that day to day, but on average, we don't have to think about that kind of shit. People like me and you, Dom, we don't really have to worry that hard about walking outside and getting shot. But now, do I freak out when a cop pulls up behind me every single time? Yes. Yeah. I've had cops show their guns to me, luckily not pull them out. I've had those intimidation tactics. I know that when I get in my car and I drive down the street and there's a cop, I know for a fact I could die in 10 seconds. I know it. But I don't know, man.
I'm definitely fortunate to be living in the area I am. This is even though Trump lives here, and all those Hill people are kind of in their bubble doing their crazy shit. It's this is a super duper liberal area, so that helps.
Yeah.
But it doesn't stop me from always wondering, like, why when you see a cop, there's always that thought in the back of your head, this person has a gun. Like they could take out me, anyone, themselves. Like these are lethal weapons they have on them. This is something that we all have access to.
Yeah.
Faith is like, man, what the hell are you talking about?
No, she's used to it. She's used to this shit.
All right, so I can't. I don't have a proper segue for this, so I'm just gonna jump into it.
I probably lost you like 100 subs just now.
No, it's fine. It's like they can go. It's fine. They can walk right on out. They'll probably come back at some point or not, which is cool. I am very comfortable whenever I get any sort of a political weird comment on my shit. I'm like, wow, that means I'm reaching outside of my core base. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That picture I just sent you just now,
okay,
was a picture of me as I was listening to a song that you recommended, Pagan Medieval Aristocracy.
Oh God, yeah. I would never tell you to go listen to that.
I listened to it. I was like, all right. I was watching your video. I was like, okay, you mentioned this song, and I was like, what the fuck? I just got finished with my run. My lips are all ashy and chapped. They got more chapped after I listened to that song. Here's what I'll say though. You know, I told you I don't like the screamy vocalizing, but like the music itself, love it. Love the instrumental. I just wish there was more singy. Like you know how I am. Like I like I like that kind of stuff. That other recommendation you made to me recently was great. I forgot what it was. It wasn't Chromatics. It was
Cold Cave?
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I could see you liking that.
Very much on target. Been loving the synthwave stuff. Any 80s synth stuff is really good for me. Any anything that sounds like, been getting the Gary Newman, Nine Inch Nails, Ministry. There is one song there, So What, that I've loved, and that's screamy, but somehow more tolerable to me. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm. I can see that. I mean, it's not as distorted, I guess. Al Jorgensen's voice isn't super crazy. But yeah, I used to love some Ministry. I've listened to him in a while.
I have a sad Ministry story for you. So they were performing for Death Grips. Death Grips opened for them.
I remember that. Mm-hmm.
This is like 2-3 years ago. And I, like many people, after the Death Grips show, I was like, I do not know Ministry, and I'm going home. I left.
I'm sure a lot of people did, and I did feel bad for Ministry because I didn't go to the show, period, but I did feel bad for them because I was like, I bet you that fucking place cleared out after Death Grips played.
Yeah, but I could have experienced, like, I should have just, like, and this is obviously, like, this is pandemic hindsight, like, I love live shows, and I'm like, I should have just, and I've only maybe walked out on like 2-3 shows because I was tired or whatever, and that was one of them. And I was like, I really, really should have been like, what is Ministry? What is the energy? Like I could have experienced something.
Sure.
Now look at me, haven't seen a live show, and like the last live show I watched was I had to pay for live streams now, live stream shows. It's not awful. I watched Future Islands the other day. In a live stream thing, and it was like I'm by myself in my room. I turned the lights off, and I was like oil painting on like trading cards, and I was getting really kooky, but it was fun.
Didn't you do a video of you doing something like that recently?
Oh yeah, I was using oil painting. Yeah.
And I was gonna say I don't remember ever seeing you do oil painting before.
Yeah, because it takes fucking forever, and it's like
that shit was cool.
Thank you, man. Yeah, maybe I'll do more of it. I can show you some of the stuff I've been doing. And this is an exclusive.
Oh shit!
I've never shown this on my channel. This is the kind of shit I paint that I don't really show.
Oh wow!
But this is layers.
That's dope.
Thanks, man. It's very Rothko-esque. This is the stuff I know will get like 0 likes on IG, but it makes me really happy to make.
No, I'm super into that. When I was doing abstract painting, that's the kind of shit that I was really, really, really into.
I didn't know that you were painting.
Yeah, dude. I went to school for fine arts. And then I decided... You didn't know that?
No. I don't know anything about you, man.
Dude.
What the fuck? I've never seen your drawings, man.
I don't... So, it's a long story. I don't show them very often.
What?
But yeah, I went to school originally for fine arts. And then I got a meeting with the counselor, and the counselor was like, you do realize there's no money in fine arts. And I was like, but I was like 18, 19. I didn't know any better. So I was like, okay, so what should I do? And she was like, you should look into like graphic design or computer arts or web design. And I was like, okay, I'll do web design. So I ended up doing that. And I haven't touched web design. Haven't touched it. I have a degree in web design. Haven't built a site since I fucking graduated. You know, I should have stuck with, because my girlfriend's a painter, and I should have stuck with fine arts because she's amazing at it. And I'm like, I'm jealous because I haven't painted anything in so long.
How old were you when you got this advice?
I was like 18 or 19. It was like right around when I first started college.
I want to ask you why you listened to her, but I want to find a more constructive way to ask that. Like,
no, it's a fair question. I was just naive, dude.
Fuck.
I was just naive, you know. And my mom was a counselor, and I ran it by her, and she was like, "Well, that's true. There's no money really in fine arts, you know, unless you're going to be like a famous painter. There's not really money in fine arts. There's more money in web design." But she's like, "But do what you want." You know, and I just was like, okay, well, I guess I'll just do web design because I need to make money. I don't want to be poor all of my life.
Do you remember it? Do you remember anything about what the counselor looked like?
Mm-mm.
Any details?
As far as like race wise, or just
No, just physically, because I'm gonna end up drawing this. I think this is pretty interesting. So that's why I'm poking for details.
I just remember it was like an older church looking black lady, like the church do that kind of flips out.
Did
like
she have a hat on? She had her Sunday hat?
No, she didn't have a big flower hat on or anything, but she definitely looked like she was an extra on Amen or something.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, she was just like, baby, just so you know, there's no money in being a fine artist. So if you want to make money, you should go into something else. So I was like, okay, well,
fuck.
You're a counselor. You know best.
You know what I have so many thoughts on that.
I know it's fucked up, dude.
It boils my blood, and it's I cannot stand that we live in this world, and I'm about to get in my capitalism shit. I cannot stand that we live in this world where to be a creative being, to want to express yourself as a human, the first thought that many of us have, and this is not a negative thought, is how will I be able to eat? How will I be able to support myself? The artist class, the storyteller class of humans is so fucking important.
Yeah.
I don't care what culture you're from.
Yep.
The storytellers, the musicians, the artists carry culture. They carry knowledge. They carry history and like emotional history. You can see stuff like, the Haitian Revolution. You can read about that stuff, but like the emotions that are carried in these events, like how people felt, how they were thinking, just like the colors of it, just so many lessons are passed down through art, and it's healing for our souls. And I think we need way more art right now. But now we're more concerned about money. Like I'm concerned about it. Every day I sit there and think to myself, like, I want to run back to the day job stuff, and I don't know. I might end up doing it, but it's a fucking shame. It's a fucking shame that like that we don't have a more of a protected artist class.
I agree with you 100%. 100%. Like in 100 years, if the Earth is still here, people are gonna look back and they're gonna say, yeah, that Jeff Bezos guy did some cool shit. But that Jimi Hendrix guy, look what he did. Or, as cliche as it sounds, that fucking Kurt Cobain guy, look what he did. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're going to look back at those people, I think, maybe a little bit more fondly. Because they were true, like you were saying, carriers of culture or true timestamps over someone that's just a fucking billionaire that just popularized taking advantage of workers and furthering his own pockets. Like, I'm hoping at some point people look back on that and they say, well, that was actually kind of like a fucked up part of culture that was happening. But this surge of art that was happening during this time, like, look what music is. Look what music's been for the past 5 years. Look how angry people have been. And look at the way it's been expressed through music. I think I'm with you 100%. I think we definitely need more artists that aren't scared of being poor, which sucks to say because I speak from a place of privilege to say that.
Yeah.
But I think when money starts getting introduced to art, it sometimes fucks it up. There are very few artists that keep their integrity once those dudes in suits show up.
This is something I struggle with. I'm fighting with it right now, and it's one of those things that there are a lot of decisions that I have to make with my art, what it is that I want to say. And on top of that, it's like getting scared of how people are going to perceive it and if I might lose corporate sponsorship or like my allegiances with corporations that I work with and all that stuff. This is something that I'm having to reckon with. And this is, it's real shit. It's like you either, and I know there isn't in between, but it's like, you have this self-expressive stuff where you're like explosively giving everything you have and just having no filter. And then there's the other side where it's like someone's going to pay you more to do something that is not as exciting. But hey, like you look at your bank account and it doesn't say negative 5,000. Not being in debt is pretty amazing.
Yeah. I wish there was a way to fix that for artists. If we could, maybe if the people could popularize, I don't know. popularize making artists that actually care about art prosperous? I don't know. I don't have the answers.
Yeah.
It just sucks that there's not as much capital in being like honest with yourself when it comes to art. You know. And but I do get it. I do get it. And I don't shame people for making things that are accessible to everyone. I would be a complete piece of shit if I did that. You know, I can't look at Future and say, "Dude, you're being dishonest and you're no, Future's doing what he wants to do to make himself money and to ensure that the 35 and a half kids he has are going to have a future." I get it. I get it. So, but yeah, I mean, it just I don't know, man. It just sucks. I wish I'd never fucking grown up in the punk scene, because I don't think I would have these ideas, and I think I'd be a lot more comfortable with what's happening right now. I'd just be like, it's life. Instead of being like, this is bullshit and it needs to change, you know?
That energy is important. And a lot of that, you know, what I've been thinking about is the punk scene in DC. And like in the 80s, I mean, it was pretty intense. Like there were a lot of mad motherfuckers around here. And like, I think I'm feeling a kind of resurgence. Artists don't fuck with conservatives and Trump on any level. And there is like a new sort of art scene coming up in this area. It's not as angry.
Really?
Yeah, it's not as angry as the 80s, because I'm in it. I'm part of that scene. It's definitely not as angry. I mean, because like, again, there's no shows, right? It's like, and pandemic. So where are you going to perform? It's difficult. Let's talk about horror. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No. I was about to go into another tangent, so no. It was good that you're moving us along, because I'd be here all day talking about that.
We're doing it. We're moving along, Mike Seatown. Scary, spooky shit. We're talking horror. We're talking blood and guts. We're talking teeth flying out. We're talking you walking down the street at midnight, and you look over your shoulder and you see a gray-looking white dude wearing a police uniform, and he looks kind of like a vampire, and he has a gun on his hip, and he just keeps walking after you. We're talking horror right now. Horror films.
That's scary.
Spooky
scary.
as fuck. You know what I'm saying? Top 5. I want to know your top 5 films. I feel like what we could do is like a back and forth. You give one, I give one, blah 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 blah. I have mine written down. I've thought about this. I feel like, should we go in order of like least to best?
Yeah, we can try that. I'm looking at my list, and I can do some mental rearranging.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that for myself as well. All right, let's see your number 5. What do you got?
Number 5, I think I'm gonna go Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Original, of course.
Original.
All right.
The one from 1970. Is it 8? I think it's 78, something like that. 1970 something. Yeah.
What about it?
I mean, dude, that's one of the creepiest films I think ever made. It has some of the most iconic scenes in horror. You know, the scene where, you know, Leatherface gets I believe it's his first kill. He pops that person in the head. They fall and they kind of jiggle.
Oh, the feet, you know, the feet on the
ground.
I distinctly remember like the feet on. Yeah, that was weird.
It's such a weird thing to add, like this person basically going into convulsions after getting popped in the head, or when he comes out and grabs that woman and pulls her in and he slams the door. Like there are some iconic scenes in that movie, and the fact that when I was a kid, they really had me believing that shit was real. You know, at the beginning it said this is based on like a true story or whatever.
Yeah,
I didn't know. I was like, oh man, Leatherface is real. You know,
you couldn't go on Google on Snopes.
Yeah. Well, we didn't have Snopes when I was a kid. That's how old I am.
Yeah.
Snopes was your homies. Like, hey, bro, have you heard about this shit?
Snopes was a guy you knew. Yeah.
Yeah, Snopes was a local
Let me add Snopes. He's like, I don't fucking know, dog. You got a quarter?
I don't know, bro.
My number 5. I called an audible just now because I was thinking about it. Paranormal Activity. The first Paranormal Activity, for me, after watching that, I think I had about 2 days of extreme paranoia at nighttime, which is unusual for me. I'm not really affected by horror films outside of watching them. It doesn't happen often. But that was one of them. Was like I was washing dishes and I would look over my shoulder real quick, and I was seeing and hearing stuff that wasn't there. Creepy, so fucking well done.
Yeah, I like that movie. Actually, to be honest, I like all of them. Even though they started to get ridiculous, I'll still watch them. If a Paranormal Activity movie pops up, I'm gonna watch it because it's super entertaining.
Did you watch the Tyler Perry one that he just made, Parallel Activity, where he turns into Medea and then he's like getting chased by?
Fuck's sake.
I'm kidding.
I totally believed you. I totally believed you.
I'm fucking with you. Or what do you got for number 4?
Let me see. For number 4, I'm gonna go with The Exorcist.
Linda Blair, yeah.
Absolutely. That was a movie when I first saw it. It totally fucking yeah, she's chewing on my anyways. That movie totally fucked me up. Like, I had never seen anything that sacrilegious. Like, to see this little white girl on a television screen saying "fuck me, Jesus" with a crucifix. Like, that was not some shit that you saw.
Yeah, they went for it.
They really went for it. And it was so fucked up. I remember I got the book from somebody from school. Because, of course, my mom wasn't going to buy that shit. I got the book and I read the book as, like, a child. I think I was probably 12. And the book's even more fucked up. But the movie is it's just so well done, so creepy, so dark. It doesn't really end on a happily ever after note. You know what I'm saying? It's just a really fucked up movie. Great composition, great visually, just beautiful colors in it. Just them being in that room. It goes in the pantheon of horror films that take place in pretty much like one location, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
But her like the projectile vomiting, her disgusting way of speaking. In terms of possession, I mean, like that's a peak possession movie.
Absolutely.
My number 4. This is a recent one. Vivarium. You seen it?
Oh, real? Yeah, I have.
Vivarium. I'm into despair in the sense that, like, oh God, how emo can I be? I'm into despair when it's depicted in art. Despair comes out very well in these kinds of horror movies where it's like you get a bad ending, and this is a pretty bad ending. I mean, in terms of like the loops, you're not being able to escape the bad shit that's happening. It's psychological, it's physical, it's very psychological, the horror in this. There's stuff about pregnancy, not being able to achieve your dreams.
Consumerism.
Consumerism, calling back to the capitalism and all that shit. Being into this Amazon society, it's like, it feels like, having to get up and go to work every day, do this thing. I'm gonna have kids, and then I'm gonna have that and that and that, and then what?
Yeah.
And then what happens? I think Vivarium lives in that space of just questioning what it is that you even want out of life, and then making that super scary.
Yeah. I had no idea what it was about, and I rented it from like Redbox, and I'm gonna say this, and this is not as a way of being an asshole or anything, but I didn't like the movie, but I could totally understand why other people did, but it didn't ever click for me. That one, I wish it did, because I liked slow burn, and I liked how it was very much like, I'm gonna reveal this little piece step by step until the end, and then you're like, oh, now I get it. Maybe I need to watch it again, but the first time I watched it, it didn't pull me in.
It's a tough one. Give it another shot.
I think I will.
Number 3, what do you got?
Number 3, I'm going with Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Is that the Dream Hunters? The Dream Fighters?
Dream warriors.
Oh my.
Don't wanna dream no more. Right, Zoe?
Oof.
We're the dream warriors. Maybe tonight he'll be gone.
Dream is that the one where they get powers and they start fighting Freddy?
Yeah. It's great. That's where they're like in the mental hospital.
Yeah.
Oh,
They're all fucked up for different reasons.
Yes. Yeah. They all have different issues. Like one of them, Joey, he can't speak. Then there's the Kincaid. I forget what his actual issues were. I don't remember. He's the only black guy, of course. But yeah, I mean, there's the iconic, welcome to the prime time, bitch, where he pulls the chick's head into the TV. The woman's head into the TV.
It's been a long time since I've seen that. I seem to remember something bursting out of someone's chest in that film. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. Maybe that was the first movie.
I don't remember. I haven't watched it in a minute either. I don't remember the chest bursting.
Dream Warriors.
Yeah, it's definitely my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street film. That's the one where Freddy actually got like a real sense of humor. Because if you remember the first one, he was just brutal, and the second one he was just kind of creepy and weird. But the third one, it was like he really started fucking with people. Like when he turns that dude's veins into like marionette strings.
Oh my God.
And he has them like walking through the mental hospital, and then he just leads them off of the edge of a building.
Oh shit!
Like that's some fucking ill shit,
Robert Englund just got so into that. He really became that role so well.
It's sad because he could never do anything else after that. He tried.
His face,
like,
he
no,
just.
You're Freddy.
You're
Freddy, motherfucker.
The casting director starts calling him Freddy. He's like, it really was a role I was playing. I don't know if he's British or
right.
not.
I don't think he is. I think he's just a regular old American.
Hearing England, I was like, come on, I had to do a British voice. Number 3 for me. This was going to be a toss-up. I'm just going to say it. Climax by Gaspar Noé. You know Climax?
Yeah, dude.
Okay, so Climax. Not a traditional horror film. Gaspar Noé, I shouldn't have to explain why this dude is just out of his mind. But like, the reason I say Climax is because I have not walked out of many movies in my life.
Okay.
So I rarely walk out of a movie, even if a movie is awful, in the sense that it's just like hard to follow, bad acting, whatever. I don't walk out. I just stick to the ending. I'm watching Climax by myself. I was high. I don't know why I thought that was a good idea.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting in I'm sitting front row. Right? This was in the middle of my work day. I just taken a break. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go see Climax. And at some point, and this is probably like 80% through the movie, my body, I'm just getting full body just like cringes and just like feeling awful. What's happening to the people on screen is horrific beyond horror, because it's realistic. This shit could all happen.
Yep.
Stuff I don't even want to fucking repeat. If y'all are brave enough to watch Climax, just remember I warned you. But at some point, 80% through the movie, it's dark. There are strobe lights happening. Someone is moaning for some reason, and I was just I realized I was in my seat like this. My legs were up, dude. I was like, and I was looking away, and my body was like tight in this ball. And then all of a sudden, I was like, oh shit, I don't have to be here. I don't have to do this to myself. And then I got up and I walked my ass out. And I actually,
really,
yeah. And I think it was like, actually it was 90% through the movie, because like after that, the woman is crying and she's like bloody crawling her way through the snow, which is like beautiful composition, by the way. But like, I walked my ass out. So that's why I put Climax up on here, because I ended up finishing it later. But that's one of the only movies that made it was so horrific. Maybe too horrific maybe too much. I left.
Wow.
Even talking about, like, thinking about it. Thinking about right now is like, oh, awful. But horrific. You know what I'm saying? Awful. And I don't know if, is that horror? I think it is horror. It's definitely, God, I don't know how this dude's movies get made. I don't know who's funding them. Every time I think about it, like, who is pumping money into this? I guess some kind of European film thing where, like, this is fine, whatever.
I mean, he's a very influential filmmaker at this point. You know, even Kanye has stole stuff from him. So I mean, it's very, like, the way he films. If you watch Enter the Void, I don't know if you watched that one or not.
I did, which is a lot more like stomachable. I don't know. It's it's the more tame of the other of all the Gaspar Noé movies we've mentioned.
Yeah, it's not quite as fucked up. You know, there are some fucked up scenes, but it's not nearly as weird and off the wall as something like Climax or Irreversible or I Stand Alone. But yeah, he's one of my favorite filmmakers, so I mean, I get it.
Really? Damn, I didn't know that.
I think he's brilliant. I think he's fucking brilliant. I think with Climax, for making you sit there for an hour just hearing people talking about random conversations, like, oh yeah, I fucked that girl last weekend, and then you go over here and these people are just having, like, just banal conversation. Oh yeah, you know, I really like cheesecake. Do you like cheesecake? For like an hour, and then all of a sudden shit just goes left.
Apparently, a lot of them weren't actors, and he just kind of let them just go.
Yeah, it was like a lot of it was just improvised. He was just like, yeah, just have a regular conversation. Because that's what he's doing. He's making you feel like this is normal. Like you're in the movie and these are just regular people having a regular conversation, and then shit starts going crazy. People start getting lit on. Well, I won't say. People should watch it. Yeah. But yeah, I'm with you 100%. That movie is extremely fucked up.
Whew. Nuts. All right, yeah, so Climax, just saying it. You say that word and
yeah.
All right, number 2, what do you got?
Number 2, this is going to be a controversial choice. But number 2, I have to say The Witch. I mean, I'm an old man, and I can honestly say that it's one of the best horror films I've seen in my life. Like, it's the way it's filmed, the narrative, the story, the way it ends, I think is just brilliant. And when this dude showed up on the scene with this movie, I really feel like he made people stop and actually pay attention to the way slow burn horror movies should be made. Now you see a lot more slow burn horror being made now, you know, things like The Lodge and shit like that, you know. But yeah, The Witch is just, it's fucking incredible.
The ending, I'm into, again, back to the despair thing, the type of ending where it kind of crescendos. I think that's what it is. It's a super climactic ending where you get as much supernatural as you can in the last 2 minutes, which is great.
And the thing about it is when you stop and you actually go and Google where that whole fairy tale came from, it makes the movie so much better. Because there's this whole story about how she wasn't really elevating into the sky with these other witches. There's this folklore that when she's killing the baby and chopping the baby up and rubbing it all over herself and all that.
That happened?
That happened. Yeah. Jesus, it's really dark. It's really, really
How did
dark.
I forget that?
Like,
that must mean, damn. I pushed that shit out of my memory.
I don't think I noticed it until I watched it the second time. Like, that scene is very dark. In lighting, I mean. Like, lighting, it's very dark. So you can't exactly know what she's doing. But you see her, like, crushing something, and I didn't know what it was. But then when you look up the folklore, it's like, oh, like, they would kill babies and rub this stuff on them. And then there was, like, this whole, like, side effect that you would be high from doing this. And it's a really weird and fucked up story that Robert Eggers was telling. And it's so much better when you go and actually read up on the folklore and then go back and rewatch it.
Oh my God.
And you see what's actually happening. But I mean, Black Phillip. Dude.
I knew you were going to.
You know what I'm saying? It introduced the world to Black Phillip.
Yeah.
You know, do you want to live deliciously? Like, that movie's it's incredible. That dude's a genius. I can't wait to see what he does next. But The Witch, definitely up there.
We're on number 2, right?
Yep.
All right. Number 2 for me. Midsommar. We had to talk about our dude Ari Aster.
Yeah, man.
We're talking about slow burns. This guy has been the king of marrying music to creepy shit, fantastic composition, great stories, beautiful colors in Midsommar. It is such a different kind of thing. I've never seen this kind of setting. The way this thing builds up, and dude, the song as everything is burning, and the dude is in the house, and then she's just sitting there witnessing it, and then she just like the joy in her face. Like if you didn't know what it was, you'd think it was some kind of a Jesus video or something. But like similar and very similar to Hereditary. Mm-hmm. Beautiful music at the ending coming up, and just it meets the horror right at the end, and it gets real fucking loud. Love it. Love how the pacing, the eeriness of the characters. Fantastic movie.
I agree with you 100%. I think Ari Aster, like Robert Eggers, you know, he showed up and really changed the way people look at horror. I think he did that with Hereditary, but he really did it with Midsommar. Like, I was extremely excited to go see that in the theater, and I'm so glad I did. That's a movie that I feel like really needed to be seen on the big screen because it's a beautiful film. And the fact that it's one of the only horror movies that I can remember where the entire thing takes place during the day.
Yeah.
You know, there's not a lot of, I think there's only like one kill that happens at nighttime if I remember correctly. But all the other brutality, I think of like the brother that was actually the only black guy there. I think he's killed at night, right?
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Oh, spoiler alert! Sorry.
They know. It's a movie's 2 years old. They should have seen it by now.
You're right.
I'll tag spoilers in the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he was. Now I'm trying to think of the. Yeah, I guess there was like a night scene or two, but very rarely. Mostly during the day. The eeriness and like everyone's like ingesting these things. The ritual cultiness of it. Mm-hmm. Being inside this group and like they're all able to speak this language that you don't know. Eerie.
Very.
Ruben
very
doing the
eerie.
finger painting. Like what the fuck is going on? And they're all believing what this kid is doing. Like what?
Yeah, that was the only slight, small, tiny gripe that I had. Was I wish we got a little bit more of that fucked up faced person. The Oracle, I think, is how they refer to them. I don't know if it was a male or a female. At any rate, yeah, I just think that movie is brilliantly made. I mean, just from the start, showing her trauma from dealing with her sister and the parents, and then having to go with her what she thought was her boyfriend that loved her. And yeah, dude, that's a great pick. That's a really good pick. If I was doing a top 10, that would probably be on there.
Yeah, they really set you up with her past family trauma. They set you up for everything that happened afterwards. Like she clearly wants to be part of a family.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, same themes in Hereditary. Mm-hmm. Family, wanting to be part of a family, wanting to be part of something. At the end, it's Hale Payman and everyone is around him. I guess it's her in her brother's body or whatever. But very similar thing. Close up on the face. Super excited to see what he does next. To see if like there's a. My guess is that it's gonna be the same thing. Slow, hard bank at the end, and then like close up, really good music. Love him in Midsommar. Love it.
Did you see? I think it's called "There's Something About the Johnsons."
His short film.
Yeah,
I haven't. I hear that it's really fucked up.
So that's the first thing I ever saw by him.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Because it was floating around a lot. So since you haven't seen it, I won't give any spoilers.
Okay.
But it definitely again deals with family But that movie, when I was done, I was like, who the fuck made this? What kind of wacko made this shit? And why? I loved it, but I was just like, what goes through someone's brain to make a movie like this? So when he made Hereditary, I was like, oh, I'm on board. I'm on board to see what he does. So yeah, you should definitely watch There's Something About the Johnsons just to see, like, this dude has been this kind of fucked up for a very long time.
God. All right, I'm gonna check that out. Number one.
Number one?
Number one. Let's do it. Drum roll in post. Let's do it. Drum roll. Hit it. Louder. Okay, obnoxious. All right, we're doing it. Number one. What do you got?
I think it is amazingly coincidental that you picked Midsommar as your number two, because my number one is The Wicker Man.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Hereditary.
I know you did. The way you stood up.
Wicker Man with Nicolas Cage?
No, not with. No, not with Nicolas Cage. So, The Wicker Man is actually a film from the 70s. The one with Nicolas Cage is a remake.
Okay.
And it is an abysmal remake. It's some shit that people should... When we were talking about people getting punched in the mouth earlier, everyone who had any piece of that movie should have gotten punched in the fucking mouth. The Wicker Man is an amazingly creepy film from the 70s. Midsommar,
Yeah.
there's no way that Ari Aster would ever say that he wasn't inspired by The Wicker Man to make Midsommar. Midsommar is like a really dope remix of Wicker Man. It's a pagan film. This guy goes to this island called the Island of Summer Isle to find a little girl that's been kidnapped. And it's all... I can't give you any more than that. But when you talk about music, because it's... I guess you could say it's technically a musical. Technically.
Whoa.
Because when he goes to this pagan island... Everyone there, they just love singing and dancing. It's the weirdest movie, but it's easily one of my all-time favorites. I really want you to see it just because I think, even if you don't enjoy it, I think you'll find it interesting. But yeah, it's just funny that you said that Midsommar is your number two, because it led perfectly into my number one.
Wicker Man. All right, I'll check it out. Nicolas Cage.
Yes.
No, I'm kidding.
The Bees!
Yeah, I get the wrong one.
The Bees!
No, Wicker Man.
I've suggested it to a lot of people, dude, and that's the first thing they say. Nicolas Cage film? It's like, no, I hate that comes up first. It's so unfair.
Oh my God. Maybe someone... Yeah, I guess Midsommar, it sounds like that was the spiritual successor.
It definitely was.
My number one. We got the obnoxious drum roll once again. After a lot of thinking, The Thing, John Carpenter.
Great pick.
I love John Carpenter. Got turned on to his music about 4 years ago after going to a really awesome, creepy record store.
Okay.
The Thing, to me, I love it as... I almost look at it like a painting. You want to talk beautiful animatronics, the creatures in there, the artistry that they use to make the creatures. This ain't CG. This is like physical blood. This is like monsters made out of, like, I don't know what they did, plaster, rubber, all this. It still looks so incredible. Now, conceptually, setting-wise, to put any film in Antarctica. The only other film I can think of that was set in Antarctica was like AVP 1 or something like that. But like,
there wasn't 30 Days a Night in Antarctica?
I think that was Alaska.
Oh, you're right.
Josh Hartnett, I believe. But The Thing, super strange setting, the coldness of it, awesome performances, and just the creature itself, right? The idea that on every level, even down to like a single cell would fight for its existence. And like you see during the awesome scene where they're all tied to the chair and like poking a puddle of blood from this creature would cause it to just turn into something else. Like, this is beyond symbiotic. This thing will enter you on however it can and turn it and disguise itself as different creatures. It's fucking incredible. Love it.
I could not agree with you more. That is definitely one of the best John Carpenter films. Like that movie, I always think about the scene where the diabetes guy, I think he's the doctor, isn't he? Where he's like, isn't he the one that gets his hands eaten?
I think
I can't remember if that was him or another guy. I'm pretty sure it's him, but they're like, I think he's about to do the electronic paddles.
Yeah, and then it just
bring the guy
opens
back.
up and fucking eats his...
That scene fucked me up when I was a kid because it's so unexpected. It was like, wait, what? His stomach just turned into a big fucking mouth. That ain't right.
God. The thing with the head and like the stalks come out of it and it's just crawling around.
Yes.
Beautiful. Even the way it comes out, that was... A lot of that stuff was imprinted on my mind, especially as a person who makes art. I'm just blown away by the artistry of it, the creativity. And again, I implore anyone watching this, just look at what they created with these monsters. It just shows that like, I mean, you can try to make super cool, crazy CG monsters right now, but like to build something with your hands, to build something that is physical, I think is eternal. I think it's always going to look great because of that.
I totally agree with you. And it's funny that you picked this because I was struggling as my number 5. Have you ever seen Prince of Darkness?
Yeah, you turned me on to that.
Yeah,
I watched it because of you.
That's my favorite John Carpenter film, and that is definitely in my top horror movies. And it's so under talked about. Like people just don't even mention it. And
Right.
I think it's because to this day, most people have no idea what the fuck it's about. And I still don't either. I have no idea what everything was. But that was the first movie as a kid to scare the fuck out of me.
It's a
And to
bad
actually give
ending.
me legit nightmares.
It's a dark ending. All I know is it didn't go well. Whatever happened at the end of that thing, it was not good.
Yeah. Yeah, John Carpenter was really on some other shit in the 80s. He really was. But yeah, goddamn, man, the thing is a good ass pick. Did you ever see the remake?
When did that come out?
I want to say that came out in like maybe the early 2000s.
I think I did. Let me see the thing.
It's actually good, man. It's legit.
Was Daniel Craig in that? Mary Elizabeth Winstead? Okay, I don't even think I've seen this one.
Give it a shot if you ever get bored. You know, if you're in the house, you don't feel like doing anything, and if it's on some kind of streaming, give it a shot. I think it's actually pretty solid.
I love the first one, so I'll definitely check out the second. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
We did it. We got through the top 5. We got through the top 5 horror. All right, motherfuckers, let us know in the comments below what your top 5 are. If you agree with us or disagree with us, we want the smoke. Myke especially. Go into his DMs, send him emails, give him all the smoke, all right, on my behalf.
All of it.
Myke, it is always a pleasure to chat with you about art and life and whatever's going on in the current culture.
You too, man.
Please tell people where they can find you.
So to make things easier, I've tried to step into the new century. So you can find me just by going to MykeCtown.com. MykeCtown.com. That has links to everything from my channel to my social media to Dead in Hip Hop. It's got all of my shit all in one place.
Fantastic. For those of you who don't know me on Myke's channel, you can find me on Dom Rabrun, DOMRABRUN, everywhere, domrabrun.com. I run a creative studio called Blue Cerberus where we do animations, and hopefully we'll be partnering with Myke and Dead in Hip Hop to make some animated stuff for them as well. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Thank you for being here, Myke, and I will see you next time.